You ever wake up, look outside, and find 1,000 strangers camping in your front yard because your local HOA president decided your ranch was now the county's public park? Yeah, neither had I. Not until that Saturday. I'll never forget it. The smell of bacon and coffee in the air, the chaos of tents pitched on my family's land, and the sound of Brenda Hartwick, the self-appointed queen of Sunset Meadows, shrieking, "Somebody call 911," as she sprinted across my pasture in high heels, clipboard flying, while I did the only thing that felt right. I opened the gates and let my bulls do the talking. Let me back up a bit, because if you'd told me a year before that my quiet Texas ranch would become ground zero for a suburban turf war, I'd have called you crazier than a snake in a washing machine. Name's Jake Thornton. I've got 3 generations of calluses on these hands, a 40-acre ranch my granddaddy bought back in '53, and a set of prize Angus bulls worth more than most folks' new trucks. Ranching's never been easy, but it was home. Then came Sunset Meadows. 800 McMansions plopped right up against my east fence. It was like someone tried to stuff all of Dallas into a shoebox. Perfect lawns, fancy cars, grown adults getting fined for mailboxes that weren't the right shade of beige. And at the top of that little food chain was Brenda. She didn't just walk up my gravel driveway, she floated perfume cloud and all in a spotless white Escalade as if the wind itself was beneath her. "We need to discuss your property's impact on our community," she told me, like she was royalty and I was just the local peasant. Here's the thing about Texas property lines: people respect them, or at least they're supposed to. But when the subdivision went up, some lazy contractor based the boundary on an old fence, putting it 50 feet inside my actual property. For years, HOA joggers used that strip for their morning runs, 200 people every day trespassing on Thornton land. I'd let it slide. That was my first mistake. Brenda didn't see it as a neighborly favor. She saw opportunity. Started complaining about my cattle, demanding I grant the HOA an easement so their nature trail could be permanent. She threatened me with everything short of a biblical plague: noise violations, zoning complaints, property liens. Most of the neighborhood bowed down, afraid of losing property value, afraid of Brenda. But some of the old-timers gave me a nod when nobody was looking. They remembered when all this was pasture, not pavement. After Brenda's first drive-by, I started digging. Heard stories, neighbors forced out after mysterious code enforcement, Brenda's real estate company swooping in on every sale. Then I found out she'd been listing my land as future community park in HOA newsletters for 2 years, collecting commission every time the HOA bought a new chunk of dirt. Her power wasn't just fear, it was profit. But here's where her plan backfired. The old fence line was a lie, and I had the paperwork to prove it. My land extended 50 feet past that fence. 15 years, 200 joggers a day. Texas law calls that adverse use. You trespass that long, the owner can demand back rent plus triple damages if it's willful. That's thousands of dollars easy. And I just learned Brenda's HOA never filed its incorporation papers. She'd been running the show with a fake badge for 2 years. My wife Sarah was nervous. Who wouldn't be? The mortgage was heavy. The vet bills weren't getting any lighter, and Brenda was coming at us with everything she had. But I'm not the kind to run from a fight. So I called up Sarah's cousin Tommy, fresh out of law school, hungry for his first big case. We got busy. Tommy drafted a letter that made my boots itch with satisfaction, demanded damages for trespass, warned that any more property destruction would be criminal. I put up new no trespassing signs, flagged the real boundary with orange survey markers, and installed enough cameras to make a reality show producer jealous. Within a week, the neighborhood was buzzing. Why all the signs? Why did Jake's survey not match Brenda's map? Why was Brenda always the one handling land deals? And then Brenda struck back. Hard. County code enforcement rolled up, handed me a stack of violations thicker than my grandma's Sunday cake. Unsafe barns, noise complaints, even noxious odors. Each fine $500 plus daily penalties. It didn't take Tommy long to trace the paperwork back to Rick Hartwick, Brenda's brother-in-law, fast-tracking complaints with my name on them. It was a family business. But Texas law was on my side. The Right to Farm Act said my ranch was bulletproof farming, protected, established before the developers ever poured a foundation. I took it a step further. Paid for an environmental report, the whole 9 yards. Turns out my cattle were improving water quality. The only pollution. 3 houses in Brenda's own neighborhood with illegal septic leaks, including her own. The irony nearly made me spit my coffee. So I filed my own complaints, environmental violations against the HOA, reimbursement for unnecessary inspections. At the same time, I started holding ranch education days. Invited neighbors to see the ranch pet, the bulls, see what real farming looks like. People loved it, parents, kids, even the local 4-H club. Within a month, I had more friends in that subdivision than Brenda did. Of course, she didn't take that lying down. Anonymous tips about water contamination led to a county inspector trying to quarantine my herd. Bad news for a rancher hanging on by a thread. But I handed over the environmental report, and not only did I clear my name, the real threat was the HOA's illegal septic systems, and Brenda's crew got hit with fines and federal EPA involvement. Karma, right? That might have been enough for some folks. But then Tommy found the golden ticket, an agricultural preservation clause hidden in the original development contracts. When Sunset Meadows was built, the developers had to promise never to interfere with my ranch. Every homeowner's deed said so. Brenda had spent 8 years harassing me in direct violation of her own HOA's foundation. But the real gut punch, those $1,500 agricultural impact fees. Brenda charged new home buyers $127,000 over the years, funneled into accounts she controlled. No environmental fund ever existed. She'd run the same playbook in Dallas, forced out after $43,000 went missing. So what do you do when you've got a rattlesnake cornered? You don't rush it, you let it hang itself. I laid low, leaked rumors that I was thinking of selling the ranch to a developer. Brenda took the bait. She arranged a final showdown, hired security, forged county documents, started negotiating a deal to triple the subdivision's size with a cool $150,000 consulting fee for herself. She was so sure of her power, she turned my ranch into a festival ground, sold 900 permits, $45,000 cash banners strung from my fence like it was the 4th of July. That's when I knew it was time. At sunrise, while families brewed coffee on stolen land, I opened the gate and let my bulls loose. Nature took over, tents, flattened people scrambling for trees, and Brenda shrieking for help while cash boxes flew. News crews captured every second. Sheriff Martinez arrived with handcuffs and a stack of warrants. Brenda tried to bluff her way out, but the documents didn't lie: mail fraud, embezzlement, racketeering. You should have seen her face when Tommy handed out the original preservation agreements to the crowd. The HOA lawyer dissolved the board on the spot, and the sheriff marched Brenda off in cuffs. You'd think the story ended there, but the aftermath was better than I could have dreamed. Brenda pled guilty, got 18 months in federal prison, and was forced to pay back every cent she stole, including $68,000 in damages to me, $89,000 to the HOA. The new board neighbors who'd learned the hard way made me agricultural advisor. The bylaws now protect every working ranch in the county. My heritage days became a tradition. Families came together, kids fed calves, and the scholarship fund Sarah and I started now puts local kids through college. Turns out living next to a real ranch raises property values once people see the benefits. I still get a laugh watching joggers on the new legal trail right where the real boundary sits. The HOA's old office is a vegetable garden now run by a family who knows the value of dirt under their nails. Last month, the county named our creek the Thornton Agricultural Preserve. 3 generations' work honored at last. So what did I learn? Sometimes the people with the most power aren't the loudest, they're just the best at documentation. Brenda played dictator, but we played the long game with paperwork, property surveys, and contracts older than she was. I didn't win because I had the biggest bulls or the best lawyer. I won because I knew the rules, and I never let a bully intimidate me into giving up what was rightfully mine. Let me ask you this. When the next Brenda comes knocking, trying to take your rights, will you be ready? Ever seen an HOA or any small-time tyrant overreach and get exactly what they deserve? I'd love to hear your story. Drop it below. Maybe you'll remind someone else that sometimes the best way to deal with a bully is to open the gate and let the truth run wild.